I am sitting in my old study. This wooden desk has been with me for decades. The books are still neatly arranged, just as they were when I was still teaching. Nothing has changed much, except me. In my hands is a handwritten letter. The paper has yellowed, the handwriting slightly shaky, as if the person who wrote it hesitated for a long time before sending it. The letter begins with an apology. An apology for dropping out of school, an apology for disappearing, an apology for taking more than 40 years to finally find the courage to write. The writer is a former student of mine. I have to read into the second paragraph before I recognize his name. And then I slow down. He writes that back then he was certain I would not remember him, that to me he was just an ordinary student among many others. But to him there was a single moment when his entire life shifted onto a different path. A day when he believed he was about to be completely abandoned. And I did not do that. That was all. I am 81 years old now. I spent my entire life teaching. And I can tell you this honestly. I do not remember that moment. I do not remember what I said that day. I do not remember doing anything differently. To me, it was just another very ordinary day of teaching. One day among thousands of others. But to that student, it was the day he decided to stay. To stay in school. To stay with life. What stopped me cold was not the apology in the letter, but the fact that I could not even remember what I had done. After folding the letter, I sat there for a long time, and then I thought about how we usually talk about education. We measure it by grades, by awards, by names called out on a stage. A good teacher is one whose students succeed. A good class is one with high achievements. Numbers are clear. Rankings are easy to remember. But no one talks about ordinary school days. Lessons that pass quietly. Mornings where nothing special happens. Moments that do not produce visible results right away. I used to think that way too. I used to believe that if I did not leave a big mark, then perhaps I was only fulfilling my duty. I thought the value of teaching lay in moments of obvious success, that all the other days were just background, necessary repetition. I cannot count how many times I walked into a classroom thinking that today was just another ordinary day. And I never realized that I had lived almost my entire life inside days like that. Then I thought about the students who passed through my classroom. Hundreds of faces. So many names I can no longer clearly remember. Not every student stood out. Not every student was called by name for achievements. Some were very bright. Some were very loud. But there were also those who simply sat there, quiet, not causing trouble, not leaving an impression. The kind of students whose absence for a day might go unnoticed. There were afternoons when I noticed a student still sitting in the classroom after school. Not because of punishment, just because they did not want to go home. I did not ask much. I did not do anything special. I simply allowed them to stay. I did not scold them. I did not send them away. I did not ignore them. To me, it was something very ordinary, the responsibility of a teacher. A small decision among hundreds of other small decisions every day. I did not remember those moments. I did not mark them as important. But I began to understand that for some students that might have been the first time in their lives that an adult did not turn their back on them. And then I read the letter again, this time more slowly. the former student wrote about that year, about the feeling of wanting to drop out, about believing he did not belong anywhere, about thinking that if he disappeared, no one would care. He wrote that on that day he had prepared himself to be abandoned one more time. But it did not happen. There was no speech, no big advice, just a silence that did not push him away. A look without judgment, a decision that allowed him to stay. He wrote that after that day he continued going to school, not because everything suddenly became easier, but because for the first time someone did not give up on him when he believed he did not deserve to stay. I stopped reading there, not because I remembered something, but because I realized I never would. And perhaps many teachers are like me. We do not remember those small moments. We simply keep teaching, keep doing what is right, keep showing up, and never know that somewhere in the life of a child, that quiet presence became an anchor. Perhaps many things we think are small are simply waiting for enough time to pass before they return to say thank you. After finishing that letter, I sat looking around this room for a long time, and I began to rethink something I had believed for almost my entire life as a teacher. I used to think education lived or died by talent, by strong methods, by good lectures. I believed that if a teacher was good enough, students would naturally change. But over time, especially now, I see something different. Education does not collapse because of a lack of intelligent people. It collapses when people stop being present with one another. We often say teaching is about transmitting knowledge, about helping students understand lessons, about preparing them for a better future. But sometimes teaching is not about adding anything at all. Sometimes it is simply about holding on, holding a child in place for one more day, keeping them from disappearing from the classroom, from disappearing from their own life. I think back to the moment that former student described. I did not change his life. I did not give advice that suddenly made everything clearer. I did not map out a future for him. I simply did not leave. I was there. And somehow, for him, that was enough. When I was younger, I thought making a difference meant doing something big, leaving a clear mark, being remembered. But now I understand that mattering is not about having your name written in textbooks, not about being honored in ceremonies. Mattering is becoming a memory safe enough that someone does not give up. A small moment that says when everything else tells you you don't matter, there is still someone who disagrees. And the most painful, but also the warmest truth, is that many teachers have done this without ever knowing it. We go to class every day. We do what is right. We are patient present. We listen. And then we move on to the next day. We do not know which student will remember. We do not know which moment will stay. We do not know what will return 40 years later in the form of a handwritten letter. But perhaps it is precisely because we do not know that those moments are real. There is no intention to be a hero. No desire for recognition. Just an adult who does not abandon a child at the exact moment the child believes they have no value. Now, at 81, I sit alone in this old study and understand for the first time that my life may have mattered more than I ever thought. Not because I taught brilliantly, but because I stayed. Now at 81, I understand one thing very clearly. I will never know how many lives I have touched. I will never have a list of names, no numbers, no way to return to every old classroom and ask who was held back, who kept going because of a very small moment. And perhaps that is normal. Life does not run on summaries. It runs on quiet things we do not immediately see. So if you are listening to this story, I want to ask you just one question. Has there ever been someone who was patient with you at the exact moment you did not deserve patience? Someone who did not abandon you when you were silent, difficult, or making a mess of everything? And if so, do you still remember them? And then, one more question, a little harder. Have you ever been that person for someone else? You do not have to be a teacher. It could be an adult, a friend, someone who simply did not turn away when things became inconvenient. If this story makes you think of a teacher, an educator, or anyone who quietly held someone in place, share this video with them. They may be like me, having no idea how much what they did truly mattered. And if you want, leave a comment. Just one small moment. One time someone did not abandon you. One time they kept you from disappearing. Sometimes it is precisely those small things that stay the longest.